So if you've got this form with the Romney's 5 points on it, on the reverse side of that there is there's another sheet, and down at the bottom it says courage, knowledge, and magic. And if we are going to succeed outstandingly as we explain how the country will benefit by having Romney and Ryan as the governing team, then it's important for us to be loaded with courage, to have the knowledge, and to have the magic, which you have. You've already got it. But let's talk about courage for just a second. Studies show that most people think they are more shy than most people. That is a statistical impossibility, but because studies show that, it is probably true that we have people here who feel they might be a little bit shy. If you think you might be just a little bit shy, would you mind raising your hand? Yeah, see? So many of us. Those who believe they might be cripplingly shy, would you stand up? See, they want to, but they can't do it. They're just too shy. Well, in order for you to overcome your shyness and to buttress your courage, what you need is the knowledge. And so we need to be able to recite from memory Romney's 5 points, because they are magnificent points. Why are they magnificent points? They are magnificent points because just about everybody on either side of the party affiliation would agree that they want the results that those 5 points will deliver. For example, the first of the 5 points has to do with energy, right? What happens if Romney's points, the points that are underneath the main headline, what happens if they are implemented? You pay twice as much for your gasoline today or yesterday or the day before, whenever you're filled up, than you did 4 years ago, right? In addition to that, it is terrifically important that the price of all sorts of energy come down. How do we get the price of things to come down? When we have more of something, what happens to the price? It goes down. Exactly. That's exactly what happens. When energy is cheaper, who can come back to the United States engaging in an activity that is energy intensive? Oh, psychologists? No. Who? Who relies on lots of energy and who has, in part, had to leave our shores because of that, because of other expenses? Manufacturing. Exactly. Exactly right. So what I'm going to do today is give you just a few tips, very simple tips, that would enable you to explain comfortably, to discuss very comfortably Romney's 5 points. Number 1, who wants to volunteer without reading from the page? Who wants to volunteer to stand up and just tell us from memory Romney's 5 points? Who wants to do that? From memory. Nobody wants to do that, because what I have discovered is that when I have talked to committed Republicans and I've asked them, can you give me Romney's 5 points, not one of them has been able to do it. Well, now, I'm not suggesting that, you know, that's what you would expect. That's just the way people are. That's the way we are, and yet we're committed. But folks, if we're going to do the outstanding job that we need to do, we need to have the knowledge. And if you have the knowledge, then based on that knowledge, you will discover more courage, and you will be able to turn on your magic. What is the magic? I want you all to smile at me. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, that's not good enough, see? That's not magical. Now I want you to beam at me, showing teeth. That's good. That's good. You need to turn on the magic, and the best manifestation of magic is to beam at another person as you discuss comfortably Romney's 5 points. Now we've got to learn the 5 points. What is the first point? First point is energy independence. What's the second point? Skills for success. Don't read it. Do it from memory. What's the third point? What's the fourth point? What's the fifth point?
Champion small business.
Exactly. Now, how do you remember these? You conduct a little sentence. Some time ago, I conducted built a sentence or created a sentence. that worked for me. It was everybody's spinach tastes better. Really? And that helped me remember these 5 points. Everybody starts with an E, right? That's energy. Spinach, it starts with an S. That's skills. Trade is T. So that's tastes. And what's the next one?
Deficit.
Better. That's the budgets and deficits and all of that. And then the last one, R. How do we get that? With champion small business. Well, it's a little bit of a stretch, isn't it? Not really. We reform, we replace, we repeal. All of these things start with an R. And that's how I remember them. However, I've come up with a better sentence for you, and it's on your sheet. Now, you can do this, and you can, I want you, that's your assignment now. Your assignment is to memorize these 5 points and to get into them so that you can explain them comfortably and attractively to another person. How do you do that comfortably? Well, you don't do it as a partisan. You speak to other people as an American. That's the way you want to talk. You want to talk to another American as an American, right? Am I right?
Yes.
Because if you're talking to somebody who is of the other persuasion, and you're doing it from the Republican stance, they will not accept your message. But we're all Americans. And so what we're talking about, ladies, gentlemen, makes so much sense that it's useful to talk as an American. Now let me show you how it could work. We're talking with a person and we say, look, here's a little exercise. Let's take all of the Democrat talking points and put them on the table. Okay? Now let's take all the Republican talking points and put them on the table. Now let's take all of the CNN spin, all of the MSNBC spin, all of the Fox News spin, and put it on the table. Now let's take all of the Washington Post spin, all of the punditry spin, all of the New York Times spin, and put it on the table. Look, it's on the table. What a pile of spin and talking points. What do we do with it? We take, yes, exactly. We take our arm and we sweep it off the table. Once we have gotten rid of all of this stuff, we are then, as Americans, able to look at our true situation. People have not discovered their true situation. Why? Because all of this stuff, all of this punditry, all of this spin actually gets in the way. And we want to talk about the truth, American to American. Now, let me give you your key word. Your key word is exactly. That's your key word. Exactly. What you want is for the other person to listen to the material that you explain, and then for them to come to the conclusion themselves, and for you to say, exactly. That's the way it works. Harold is 95 years old. He goes to the doctor. He says, Doc, I am at the top of my game. He says, you know, Doc, my wife died several years ago. I have married an 18-year-old girl. And at the age of 95, she is carrying my baby. And the doctor says, sit down, Harold. Let me tell you a little story. There was a gentleman who liked to hunt. He went out every day, grabbed his gun, and went out to hunt. One day, however, instead of grabbing his gun, he grabbed his umbrella. As he was out there with his umbrella, he was confronted by this big bear who reared up in front of him. He pointed that umbrella at that bear. He squeezed the handle of that umbrella, and bam! That bear fell back dead with a hole in his chest. And Harold said to the doctor, Doc, that's impossible. Somebody else must have shot that bear. And the doctor said, exactly. That's your key word. That's your key word. Now, I've given you some hints here as to our true situation. By the way, there's one that's erroneous. It says here that 68% of the high school students never graduate from college. That's not true. Really, 68% of the high school students do graduate from college. 32% don't graduate from college. But you know that shows you that the educational system, does it show you that the educational system is out of whack? What do you think? Exactly! Exactly, it is. So, if it's out of whack, who has whack? Romney has whack. Our energy circumstances are out of whack. Who's got whack? Exactly. Exactly. In addition to that, our trade situation is out of whack. 2 trade deals negotiated in the last 4 years, and those were started under the earlier administration. 2 trade deals, while China negotiated 18 trade deals. Is something out of whack? Who's got whack? Exactly. In addition to that, what's the next one? We got to cut the deficits. Are the fiscal situations out of whack? They are out of whack. Who's got whack? Romney. Exactly. And finally, champion small business. You've got to get the government out of the way, let small business succeed, because it is the greatest. It's the greatest what? Job creation. Thank you, sir. Exactly. Exactly. Engine in the country. So the idea is, folks, take all the talking points, all the spin, throw them on the floor, sweep them off to the floor, talk as an American about what our true situation really is. These 5 points, memorize them, learn them, become versatile in discussing them. They are brilliant because everybody can accept them no matter what party affiliation you are, because you want the results. Everybody wants prosperity. Everybody wants prosperity. And these 5 points lead to that. Finally, I'm about, well, no, I haven't even started. I have a elapsed timer up here, which is telling me how I've done. And according to it, I've only gone 40 seconds. So,
Exactly.
Look, there was a wonderful, wonderful article in the Wall Street Journal on the 16th called "The Magnitude of the Mess We're In." Some of you read that editorial. It was written by George Shultz, John Taylor, Alan Meltzer, and John Cogan, and one other individual, I believe. These were really eminent economists and people with great experience. They're headquartered, they're located now at Stanford. They wrote this magnificent article about the magnitude of the mess we're in. And they say in this article that sometimes facts tell important stories. And that our economy today has accumulated a lot of facts which tell stories that you really don't want to hear, but you gotta hear them. You really need to hear them. If you have access to this, I would recommend it to you because it will enable you to talk to people about their true situation. Everybody wants to know their true situation, and when they discover their true situation, they will discover the best team. You're the employer. Remember Clint Eastwood? You're the employer. You employ these guys. They work for you. Right now, you're sitting at your desk and you've got 2 resumes in front of you. Resume number 1 is from the team of Obama-Biden, the team that's going to govern. With that resume, Obama-Biden. You've got another team over here, Romney and Ryan. Which team is most qualified to get its arms around these huge problems and to govern this country? Which team? You've got to decide. We will decide in 47 days. One of these 2 teams will be hired. Which team is the best team to govern the United States of America? Which team? Exactly. Thank you very much.